If you're thinking about driving a Formula One race car with the LRS Formula experience, here are the most important things that you need to know. It is the coolest, most authentic, most ridiculous racing experience on planet Earth. Order as many laps in a Formula One car that you can afford. For the love of God, race the GP track. Do not race the club circuit. If at any point during this experience you have any questions whatsoever, raise your hand and ask. I will go into that in more detail because they're not the most talkative bunch, we'll put it that way. So in August of 2025, I ticked off an item from my bucket list and had a once-in-a-lifetime experience driving a Formula One race car at Magny-Cours in France. Current mood, excited, nervous, poor. I didn't want to hit purchase because that makes it real. But I've purchased, it's real, and I'm going to drive a race car. I'm going to cover all of the logistics of that experience. If you're curious, it's like an in-depth dive into what it's like driving a Formula One race car. I've made a separate video that I've linked in the description. So the very first thing you need to know about the LRS Formula One experience is that it is the wild f***ing West. And like, I mean this in the best way possible. There are no speed limits, there are no passing zones, there is no pace car. It is authentically a racing experience that anyone can sign up for. The experience is very much, here's the car, here are the rules, have fun. And that's it. Okay, first impressions. I really have no desire to go any faster. It's so intense because you really have no idea what the car can take, what the limits are. You just don't know. And that's not to say that it's in any way unprofessional. Like, you are in the hands of trained professionals. They preach safety right out of the gate. That's not to say that they hold your hand, because they don't. And in fact, there's really only two rules. One, they have the right to black flag you at any point, at any time for aggressive driving. They don't really define what that looks like, but the threat is there. The second rule that they have is any damage you do to the car, you pay for it. And those two rules have a very strong effect on your psychology, knowing that, hey, I'm in a $3 million car. I personally don't have $3 million to fix it, so I'm not gonna try and crash it. So the first question, is it expensive? Yes, it is expensive. There's no way around it. I paid 3,800 euros for 2 racing sessions in a Formula Renault race car, which has 200 horsepower and 5 laps in a Prost AP04 from 2001. That doesn't include accommodations or travel. The next question I get a lot is how fast do you get to go? And like, there's no speed limit. The only thing checking your speed will be your own like comfort with the fear of crashing and dying, or like crashing a $3 million car. Now, another question you might have is, do you get to actually race other people? And it depends on what car you drive. For the Formula Renault, yes. You are in a racing session. They break you up into groups of 8, and that experience in and of itself is insane. The Formula Renault racing is basically a free-for-all. I was dive bombing ahead of turns to pass people. I was getting passed. Again, it's just, hey, if we think you're driving too aggressively, we'll black flag you. But they don't really state what that is. And there were instances when I thought I was driving very aggressively and they didn't say anything. So you might be thinking, Alex, is there really no structure to the racing? And I mean, maybe there is, I just couldn't tell. It's crazy and it's scary and it's a lot of fun and it's probably dangerous. Would never fly in the US because you'd get sued to oblivion. So the lack of structure, things happen, right? What happens if you crash? Great question. Here's another thing. If you are the reason the session stops, it stops for everybody. So there's a little bit of pressure there too. You don't want to be that guy that it up for everyone else. Now, I may or may not have gone into the gravel during my first F4 session. And I remember holding the steering wheel being like, I'm gonna go into the wall. I'm gonna crash this car at 100 miles an hour. But good news is the gravel did its job.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
And it was just like an authentic Formula One experience. I got out of the car, I kicked the gravel, I kept my head down, and a little Sprinter van had to come pick me up.
So that's where I was. This is where I am now.
I had to walk to the Sprinter van and then do the long drive back. So what I realized is, had I done that during the Formula One session, my race would have been over. Like, you only get one Formula One session. So again, it was really impressed upon me the importance of staying in the car, staying on the track. And that's why you really don't push the car to the limit. The next question is, can I attach a GoPro? And the answer is yes. For the Formula 4 cars, you can. I would say about 75% of them already had those little brackets on the side of the car. Second thing is, make sure you tighten it when you attach your GoPro, because in the second session, my camera, the wind pushed it back up and I got this footage, which sucks because I was driving so much better in my second session. So with the Formula 4 cars, the Formula Renault cars, you race other people. Do you race other people with the Formula 1 cars? The answer is no, not really. The day that I went out, there were 3 cars out on the track. 2 Formula 1 cars, 2 different models, and then 1 3-seater. So at any given time, there were only 3 cars on the track. A really big important takeaway from driving the Formula 1 car is you're not gonna push it anywhere near its limits. And so for that reason, it's not as difficult as you think. I spent so much time, obsessing over, I'm gonna drive fast. I'd watch so many YouTube videos and I was like, these guys are so slow. The truth is, I was just as slow as them, and that's okay. It was so much fun. Go into it being like, I'm gonna have fun no matter what happens, and you will be better for it. So I mentioned this earlier, but I did 5 laps. The baseline is 3 and I added 2 more. In hindsight, I wish I added a few more because it was only a couple $100 per lap. And at that point, like, I'd already committed so much, what's another 200-300 euros? Now, I did 5 laps in a Formula 1 car. Was that physically demanding? The reason I think it's important to talk about this is I did some research on my own and I came across a Reddit thread and the guy was like, I was physically exhausted. And so I used that as motivation. I started going to the gym, and the truth is, this was not physically demanding. I could have easily done 10, 15 laps in that Formula 1 car. You see all these videos of Carlos Sainz like doing these things where he's doing like 50-pound steering wheel turns. It's not like that. It's not physically demanding. Anyone can do it. Is it emotionally demanding? Yes. You will be exhausted after this. Not because it is physically demanding, but because of the amount of stress that you're under.
All right. Well, that was very humbling.
The stress of the cost, if you blow up the car, the stress of not knowing if you're gonna do it right, the stress of like, what if I crash? Will I die? So you will be, physically, you will not be tired, but mentally and emotionally, you will be exhausted at the end of it. In terms of what track you race on, I raced on the GP. I talked about this already, but to me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to race something that had history. Senna raced that track. Schumacher raced that track. Alonso, Hamilton, Raikkonen, they've all raced that exact same track. When I stepped out on the track, that was the first thing I thought of, was like, every great in the sport has been here. And that to me was worth the price of admission. And the straightaway on it, the straightaway on that track is mind-boggling. Ball out and do the GP circuit. So, what was the instruction like? Honestly, this is probably the only critique I have of LRS. It was an amazing experience, and I would do it again. But their instruction is lackluster to say the least. I assumed going in that you were gonna have hours of prep work, coursework, on-track work, one-on-one consulting. Here's what happened, and I kid you not, we had a 5-slide PowerPoint about racing cars, and it was in French. Honestly, it could have had that little talking paperclip. Like, that's how just basic it felt. What was most helpful was after that, you get into a Sprinter van and one of the driving instructors drives you around and they talk you through the braking points, the exit points. They know what they're talking about. The problem is they don't really know that you don't know anything. They just assume you know. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Then these are gonna make me look like a noob, but here's the thing. I was totally green coming into this. Before my first Formula Renault session, I went to grab a helmet. Well, I grabbed a large, thinking I got a big head. Turns out the helmet was too big. I didn't know this until I got on the track and the gust from the wind was literally trying to remove the helmet from my head. I kept having to physically reach and push my helmet down. That's ultimately what distracted me before my turn and what led me to go into the gravel. Another example, when I got into the Formula 1 race car, I don't know why the thought popped into my head, but I was like, wait, how do you undo the harness? And I asked them, and I had to ask them in French.
Si il faut d'embarquement, et just...
Si la voiture est en feu,
Yeah.
s'il y a une belle gonzesse sur le bord de la piste, faut ouvrir là.
Yeah.
Ok?
Translating, being like, oh yeah, sure, duh. If there's a fire, here's what you do. And I was like, if I hadn't asked that question, and God forbid there had been a fire, I would have burned alive, like straight up. They didn't even offer that up. I had to be proactive and ask that question. Well, you're saying, Alex, okay, you got a 5-slide PowerPoint at the morning, but before you got into the actual F1 car, they gave you some tips, right? I mean, this was another highlight for me because I'll never forget the director's like, okay, who's doing the Formula One? Come over here. And it was 5 people in a little huddle and he gave us a 3-minute pep talk. 3 minutes. I know it was 3 minutes because I filmed the whole thing. Like a $3 million car and it's a 3-minute pep talk. That's $1 million a minute. Okay, don't worry about it. I got a haircut. It's not a big deal. So the first question is, why did I choose LRS over other options out there? To me, it was, what's the most cost-effective way of getting into a Formula One race car? LRS is far and above the best option. It is the only option, the only Formula One experience option that has price transparency. You can literally add to cart and it totals everything out. With your package, you also get breakfast and lunch. Breakfast is a bit of a stretch, it's really just coffee. The lunch was badass. I'm gonna be honest, it was one of the best meals I had my whole trip. It was awesome. You have the option to tack on a simulator session. I did this, it was 15 euros. So dumb. I didn't even use it. You only get access to the simulator after you're done racing. And at that point, it's like, why would I step into a video game after I stepped out of a $3 million car? So that was booking. Now here's how you get there. We opted to rent a car in Paris and drive down to Magny-Cours. In hindsight, I probably would have taken the train from Paris, rented a car in Magny-Cours, and drove around there because I'll tell you what, returning a rental car in Paris at the train station sucks.
Just backing up.
Once you're at Magny-Cours, there's a couple of lodging options that LRS suggests. One of them was the Chateau, which we stayed at, which I believe is called Chateau Planchevienne? Chateau de Planchevienne, which was great. It was huge, it was spacious. Thing is, there's no AC, and it was hot. I take a train down there, rent a car when you get there, stay at the hotel. Getting to the actual track is kind of confusing. I used Google Maps to get me to the track, and then I drove around the track until I saw the grand entrance. You pull up, there's a person there, you just say LRS Formula 1, they speak English, they know, they say, hey, go to paddock 39 or whatever, and then you get to drive that way. Big question, how did I film everything? And that's a great question. I knew I wanted to document this experience, so I actually posted it on Facebook in French. I found the city of Nevers, they had like a group, and that's how I found Clement. He's awesome. He showed up, he filmed, he had great gear. I highly recommend, if you're gonna go do this, reach out to Clement. I've got Clement here, world-renowned videographer. He's here capturing this journey for me. Be sure to follow him on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff. And I think I just want to hit you with some random tidbits and pieces of advice. Bring a backpack with you. There's plenty of space in the paddock. You have these little cubbies. Bring food specifically because breakfast is not great. They don't give you a lot of food. I brought protein bars. I'm so grateful I did because I would have been starving before lunch. The last piece of advice is drink so much water. If you want to bring liquid IVs or something, I'd highly recommend that. That was everything that I experienced, and I can't stress this enough. It was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Big thank you to LRS. This video was in no way sponsored, but this goes to show you how awesome of an experience it was. If you have any more questions, reach out to me. If you have any questions, reach out to them. But I can confirm they are legit, it is real, and it is amazing, so do it. And good luck.
Yeah, okay, ben, love it.